April 18th, 1948, 10:47 p.m. Small's Paradise, 2294, Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Boulevard. Meyer Lansky sits across from Bumpy Johnson. The table between them holds a single leather ledger. Lansky's demand is simple: 60% of every dollar flowing through Harlem's numbers racket, policy banks, and protection operations. That's $840,000 annually. The alternative? The commission unleashes every Italian family in New York on Harlem's black syndicates. 23 witnesses fill the club. Jazz plays softly. Cigarette smoke curls toward Art Deco lights. Bumpy slides the ledger forward. Lansky opens it. His face goes white. 3 minutes later, the most powerful financial mind in organized crime stands, buttons his coat, and walks out. He never asks for Harlem's money again. What was in that ledger? Why did the man who controlled Cuba, Las Vegas, and the commission itself fold without a single shot fired? The answer is darker than blood. 3 weeks earlier, Harlem was a powder keg wrapped in silk. Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson controlled the most profitable black-run criminal operation in America. He wasn't just muscle. He was Yale smart, chess-minded, and ruthless when necessary. But he carried James Baldwin novels in his coat pocket. He funded scholarships for Harlem children while running numbers that paid rent for thousands. The streets called him Robin Hood. The mob called him a problem. He was both. Post-war Harlem was drowning in money and tension. Black veterans returned from Europe expecting equality, finding Jim Crow instead. The neighborhood's numbers racket pulled in $1.4 million annually, more than most legitimate businesses below 110th Street. Bumpy protected that economy. He kept Italian syndicates from extracting wealth while black families starved. He was the only thing standing between Harlem's financial independence and total mob annexation. The commission was watching. Every major family wanted Harlem's rivers of cash. Lucky Luciano, even from exile in Italy, sent messages about the Negro problem. Frank Costello held meetings about northern expansion, and Meyer Lansky, the commission's chief financial strategist, was building his casino empire. He needed capital. Harlem had it. The question wasn't if they'd come for Bumpy. It was when. Meyer Lansky was the most dangerous man in American organized crime because he never raised his voice. The mob's accountant stood 5'4" and dressed like a tax attorney. But Head built the national crime syndicate's financial infrastructure, laundered millions through offshore accounts, and co-founded Murder, Inc. When Dutch Schultz threatened to kill a federal prosecutor in 1935, Lansky voted for Schultz's execution. The hit happened 48 hours later. He didn't make empty threats. He made calculations. Lansky wanted Harlem because numbers were cleaner than bootlegging, more stable than narcotics. Predictable revenue, low overhead. The neighborhood generated $1.4 million yearly from numbers alone. 60% was $840,000, enough to finance 2 casino projects in pre-revolution Cuba. Bumpy was the only obstacle. Every other black operator had already bent the knee or disappeared. Lansky had already absorbed the Jewish and Irish syndicates. Head neutralized Bugsy Siegel when Siegel became a liability. Head survived wars that killed dozens of bosses. His reputation was surgical precision, backed by infinite resources. The commission gave him their blessing to handle the Harlem situation. On March 28, 1948, Lansky sent word through an intermediary. Meet at Small's Paradise. Discuss profit sharing. Come alone. Bumpy knew what profit sharing meant. Lansky didn't share. He consumed. Lansky's plan was mathematical perfection wrapped in velvet threats. Head bring documented proof of Harlem's earnings evidence gathered through informants, police payoffs, and surveillance. Head present the commission's unanimous decision. Then, head offer the illusion of choice, partner willingly and keep 40% or resist and lose everything. Bumpy would see the logic. Smart men always did. And Bumpy Johnson was undeniably smart. Small's Paradise was neutral ground, owned by Ed Smalls, who answered to neither man. The club sat at the corner of 135th Street and Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Boulevard, a cathedral of Art Deco chrome and burgundy leather. Mirrored columns reflected low amber light. The stage held Duke Ellington's piano silent tonight, at Lansky's request. 23 people occupied the room, waiters, bartenders, a handful of regulars nursing whiskey. All watched without watching. The air smelled of tobacco, bourbon, and expensive perfume. Outside, April rain drummed against plate glass windows. At 10:43 p.m., Lansky arrived with 2 men, tall Italians in gray suits. They positioned themselves near the door. At 10:45, Bumpy entered alone. 6'3", tailored navy suit, fedora tilted precisely. He moved like a panther entering a tiger's cage aware, unhurried, unafraid. They sat at table 7, center room. At 10:47, Lansky began. "You've built something impressive, Ellsworth." His voice was Brooklyn flat, emotionless. The commission respects that. But Harlem's grown beyond street-level operations. It needs structure, financial sophistication. We're offering partnership. Bumpy said nothing. At 10:49, Lansky slid forward a manila folder. "Our accountants estimate $1.4 million annual gross from numbers alone. Protection, policy banks, narcotics add another $600,000. That's $2 million. We're asking 60%. You keep 40. You also get commission protection, no more turf wars, no more paying off every precinct separately." The folder held ledgers, photographs, names, proof they'd been watching for months. At 10:52, Lansky leaned forward. "This isn't a threat. It's inevitability. Every independent operation from Boston to Miami has joined the structure. You're the last holdout." He paused. "We admire that. But admiration has limits." Bumpy reached into his coat. The Italians by the door tensed. He pulled out a black leather ledger, 8 inches by 10, worn edges. He placed it on the table between Lansky's folder and his own chest. "Read it," Bumpy said. 2 words, granite solid. Lansky opened the ledger. First page, dates, names, amounts. His eyes scanned quickly decades of practice reading financial records. Second page, third. His jaw tightened. Fourth page. His hand stopped turning pages. The jazz trio in the corner played softer. Couples stopped dancing. Even the bartender froze mid-pour. Lansky looked up. "Where did you get this?" Bumpy smiled. Didn't answer. The room held its breath. What Lansky didn't know was that Bumpy had been building insurance for 6 years. Since 1942, Bumpy had quietly documented every illegal transaction the commission conducted in New York, every bribe to judges, every police captain on the payroll, every murder contract, every politician bought. Names, dates, bank accounts, photographs. Head recruited cops who resented mob influence. Head paid bookkeepers to copy ledgers before they were burned. Head turned 3 of Costello's men into informants with a simple pitch. "The Italians will never see you as equals. I will." The ledger contained proof of 17 murders tied directly to Lansky, 9 bribed federal judges, 14 NYPD captains receiving monthly payments, documentation of casino profits laundered through New York banks, records of Governor Thomas Dewey receiving $50,000 to quash investigations, and most damning, evidence that Lansky had been skimming 3% off the top of every commission operation since 1944, pocketing $200,000 his partners didn't know about. Bumpy had 3 copies, one in a safety deposit box at Carver Federal Savings Bank, 75 West 125th Street, one with his attorney with instructions to deliver it to J. Edgar Hoover if Bumpy died unexpectedly, one in the hands of Adam Clayton Powell, Jr., Harlem's congressman, who'd built his career fighting organized crime and would weaponize the information instantly. At 10:56 p.m., Bumpy spoke. "You're asking for 60%. I am keeping 100, and you're leaving Harlem forever." Lansky's face remained stone, but his eyes betrayed him calculating, reassessing. Bumpy continued, "That ledger proves you've been robbing your own partners. The commission learns about it. You're dead in a week. The FBI gets it. You spend 20 years in federal prison. Hoover would love to hang a mob accountant." He paused. "Or you walk out, tell the commission I am too expensive to fight, and we never speak again." He reached across, closed the ledger, pulled it back. 3 steps ahead, Meyer, always. At 10:58 p.m., Meyer Lansky stood without a word. He buttoned his coat with trembling fingers. The 2 Italians by the door looked confused. Lansky gestured sharply. "We're leaving." They walked out into April rain. Lansky never looked back. 23 witnesses watched the most powerful financial mind in organized crime retreat from a Harlem club without his prize. Within 72 hours, word spread through every syndicate from Chicago to Miami. Bumpy Johnson was untouchable. Lansky told the commission that Harlem required more resources than it was worth. Too much heat, too organized, too expensive. Frank Costello didn't believe him but didn't push. Lucky Luciano, calling from Italy, sensed something deeper but let it go. No one discovered the real reason. No one ever saw that ledger except Lansky and Bumpy. 3 months later, Vito Genovese sent an emissary to discuss narcotics distribution. The message back was simple: Harlem handles its own business. Genovese accepted it. For the next 4 years, until Bumpy's imprisonment in 1952, Italian syndicates gave Harlem a wide berth. Bumpy didn't just win that night. He bought independence for an entire community. His legend grew taller. The man who checkmated Meyer Lansky without firing a shot. The strategist who protected black enterprise when everyone said it was impossible. Small's paradise became hallowed ground. April 18, 1948 marked the only time the commission backed down from an independent black operator. It proved that information was more lethal than muscle, that preparation trumped reputation, that the mob's greatest weakness was its own corruption, which could be documented, weaponized, turned inward. Bumpy understood what Dutch Schultz, Bugsy Siegel, and dozens of other bosses never learned. Violence is expensive and loud. Leverage is cheap and silent. This moment revealed Bumpy's true genius. He wasn't just a gangster. He was an intelligence operative inside a criminal empire. While others focused on territory and muscle, he built files. While they threatened, he documented. His philosophy was simple: make yourself too dangerous to kill, and you'll never need to kill. It worked for 18 years. Real power isn't about guns or numbers or territory. It's about knowing what your enemy values most and holding it hostage. Lansky valued his life, his freedom, and his reputation with the commission. Bumpy held all 3 in a single ledger. That's checkmate. If this story showed you why Bumpy Johnson was the smartest man in Harlem, hit subscribe. Drop a like if you respect the strategy over the violence. Comment below, would you have made the same move or taken Lansky's deal? Next week, the night Frank Costello sent 12 hitmen to kill Bumpy and 11 never made it back. The 12th delivered a message Costello never forgot.